rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone. No, this is not my usual cheerful greeting to all. For those of you who are long-time Whiskey Warriors, I have some sad news. One of the original Whiskey Warrior P1s has passed. He has asked me not to use his real name, and I'm not going to. I will respectfully honor that request. But you've heard me refer to him by his screen name, which is Buddy Weiser. Last week, 1 week ago today, Buddy Weiser went to go be with his maker. Now, for those of you that don't know, Buddy Weiser actually did a lot for this show. Back when this show was the Whiskey Musings, when I first started it, and I was a part of the Marquez show, not on the air, of course, but interacting in the chat. I remember putting forth my my show link, and for whatever reason, and I still don't know to this day why, but he immediately grabbed onto that. And there were many times when I'd be streaming and it would be just him. A lot of what he did was behind the scenes. But you guys didn't even know what was going on. Many of my backgrounds came from him. Many of the suggestions and the recommendations for this show and the segments that I do are all because of him. And he would go around and promote the show across Rumble. Many of you came here to the show because of him. I started off wearing the hat that I'm wearing in the show, and he sent me the photo that you see right here of his dog wearing the same hat. Or, well, to be honest, I'm not really too sure if this was his dog or not, but it was the first thing that he sent to me. One of the first things that he sent to me. He asked what size backgrounds that I would need, and he would send me all kinds of different backgrounds, whether it was bars or he sent a whole bunch of America stuff. He would help at times, would gather things that he knew. If he knew that I had a upcoming episode like Memorial Day or Veterans Day or something like that, he would send me images and memes and things, poems. Some of the poems that I've put on this show came from him. The recommendation and suggestion to do the Pledge of Allegiance was from him. Pet of the Week, the idea was from him. Question of the Week, he participated in that. Kept that going. He encouraged me to get a physical box, a physical address. Granted, it didn't work out, but he wanted me to get a physical P.O. box so that he could send bottles of whiskey. And he and I would sometimes spar in the chat of the various shows that we would jump around in. But for the most part, he and I aligned in terms of our knowledge and understanding. There were often times that his questions and things that he would send to me via email and that kind of stuff, he would challenge me to, learn about some stuff, and he would also challenge me to see whether or not I could answer some of his questions. I don't know if they were actually questions or that he didn't already know, or if he just was doing it just to push the show. Well, what you don't know is back in June, probably about mid-June, he sent me a message. He sent me an email. And, most of it, he sent me an email and basically said, hey, I just want to let you know, here's my real name, here's where I am located, and I've put you on my medical release forms so that you can find out about me. And I was hesitant to use that until he had been gone and not in the chat. Or via email for quite some time. There were many times that he wouldn't be in the chat and he would just send me an email and it would be just two simple words. I remain. I remain. And I can remember many, many times that I would be, 50 episodes, 50 subscribers, and he'd be like, hey, we're going to get to 100. I'm going to get you to 100. And we'd hit 100, and he's like, okay, now we're going to get to 200. And 500. And don't worry, we're going to hit 1,000. And he celebrated with me along the way. Never met the man. Never talked to him on the phone. But he impacted this show forever. And now, in honor of him, I would like him to do the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mind, please stand. Remove your hats if you're wearing one like me. Place your hand over your heart. Follow along with Buddy Weiser as he recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I hereby pledge my allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which she stands, one nation under one God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all her citizens. So help me God.
Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to play taps for Buddy. You know, just thinking about all of the things that he did for the show, I think he's even the one that maybe even suggested the Whiskey Warriors. And when I changed the name of the show from Whiskey Musings over to American Perspective, he stubbornly, as was his way, basically said, I will always be a Whiskey Warrior. He's also one of the few that actually saddled me with the moniker of whiskey. Even when I changed it to the name to my name, he basically said, you will always be whiskey to me. Rest in peace, brother. Rest in peace. All right. Sorry. All right, let's go ahead and get things. At least he didn't. He passed so that he didn't have to see this heinous asshole freaking do the thing that he did to Charlie. All right. So prosecutors have now officially charged the Charlie Kirk assassin. He is. He's got a few charges up against him, and I mean, he's got aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, 2 obstruction of justice counts, 2 witness tampering charges, violent offense committed in the presence of a child, and they are seeking the death penalty for him. He's also came out and apparently a text message or some sort of message was sent to a bunch of different people, I guess, with his confession on it, that he was the one who did it. So totally, he's yeah, the nails are in his coffin, unfortunately. He put the nails in his coffin. So, honestly, I don't really give a damn. See, there's a difference between somebody wanting somebody dead or wanting somebody to be, have justice being done, than just killing a innocent or murdering an innocent. And this is part of where the left doesn't seem to understand this. This is part of where the leftists really do not understand the difference. And there's still people who are running around who are saying, oh, what's the difference between, the Minnesota folks and all this other stuff, and they compare it. I've even seen comparisons or heard of comparisons from Charlie Kirk to Osama bin Laden. I mean, how freaking demented and demoralized, well, not demoralized, but how lack of morals do you have to be in order to wish or do a comparison between a God-fearing man, husband, father to 2 children, who only spoke the truth and was trying to change the world, his world, by just his words. This has been a really hard couple of weeks. Well, the fallout continues from Charlie Kirk. There was a New Jersey surgeon. I don't know if anybody heard about this, but it caught my eye, and I was hoping that this would come out this way. Tough for me to get through. Keep glancing up in the chat to see Buddy. Anyway. There was a New Jersey surgeon who cheered at Charlie Kirk's murder, and and he did this. I mean, he didn't just do this in front of like one person. Okay, he did this in front of a bunch of people, including a patient. And anyway, he was apparently standing at the nurse's station, and there was a nurse next to him who basically said, "Hey, you need to watch what you say or whatever." And yeah, the nurse found out the next day that she basically was going to be suspended, and the union actually even told her, "You better get ready to start looking for another job." And anyway, it turns out that she actually does still have her job, and the New Jersey surgeon has resigned, as he should. And there's been many people in the medical community who have all been like, "Oh yeah, Charlie Kirk, he deserved to die." Okay, what? How sick? First of all, I just gotta... You go into the medical field to save lives, to help save lives. What other reason would you have to be in the medical field? And this, I mean, I don't know about you, but I certainly don't want a nurse or a doctor or an EMT or anybody to be working on me who cheers for the death of a conservative, or actually cheers for the death of anybody. Doesn't matter, left, right, across, whole, doesn't make a difference. A medical professional should not be cheering for death. A medical professional should be, in terms of their own ethics, the Hippocratic Oath says, very first thing, do no harm. Which is part of the reason why many of us can't even understand why these medical professionals would want to say, well, I don't know, genitally mutilate these children in terms of the trans community. But it's not just the medical field. I mean, there's leftists who really are just, they have totally lost the point. They don't even see, they can't. They just can't. They can't even see the situation and how bad this actually is to most of America. I mean, people like Josh Shapiro, who is the governor. I can't even remember. I can't remember where he's the governor. I think it's Pennsylvania. Yeah. He's the governor of Pennsylvania, and he's running around trying to tell everybody, oh, no. We must heal. We must heal. We must work. No, you can't. And I even posted this to his post. I was like, you cannot reconcile with people who have literally nothing in common with you. Nothing at all. Well, hey, if you live in Iowa, I suggest you do not vote for this asshole. That's right. There's a radical Iowa Democrat who still calls for violence and doubles down after the Charlie Kirk assassination. According to this piece in Town Hall, Polk County Democrats' annual steak fry, Iowa candidate, and he's a congressional candidate too, Xavier, or just Xavier, I don't know, Kerrigan. Xavier Kerrigan. He apparently is running for Iowa's 3rd congressional district. He took the stage at the steak fry, the Democrat steak fry, and he took the stage. He did not bother to promote policy or unity, but to openly reject compromise and encourage violent confrontation. When they go low, Kerrigan shouted to applause, we drive our knee right into their face. Folks, this is the core of his message. If you're in Iowa, if you happen to see this video and you're in Iowa, run. Do not vote for this guy. Do not vote for him. And I suggest that actually to everybody who is a Democrat. Democrats, I think you need to understand something. If from this point forward, and I'm not talking about today, but I'm talking about just from the last week of stuff that has occurred. From this point forward, if you continue to support the Democrat Party, if you continue to support the Democrat candidates who stay within the Democrat Party, now I got to tell you, I'll be honest with you, Fetterman sounds like a good, what I would consider a good Democrat. But he needs to run. He needs to run from the Democrat Party because he is not one of them. Which is amazing considering the fact that the man was elected after he had some sort of a brain issue. I think he had a stroke or something like that in terms of his health and was elected. But since then, he has come back around, and I got to tell you, he is not a typical Democrat. He's the old school Democrat. I'm talking about the Democrats of back in the 80s, who still had common sense, who still had a common foundational value and principles with these that aligned with this country. But if you continue to support the Democrats after all of this crap, you're just as complicit in everything that they do. You're just as complicit in everything that they do from now moving on. No longer support them, no longer give them money, no longer go to their events, no longer vote for them. You need to get rid of these people. They are evil. And no, that is not hyperbole. That is not me, trying to strike up violent rhetoric against them. No, this is just simply calling them out. That's just the reason why I always say, whenever I say that a Democrat or a leftist is a moron, that it's a statement of fact, because it is. I'm not calling you a name. I'm just simply stating a fact. You are a moron. This guy, Kerrigan, on his campaign website, is written, "We are in a fight against fascism, not metaphorically, but factually." And if you're not all in on his brand of radicalism, then in Kerrigan's words, you're failing the people you claim to represent. Yeah, which is a bunch of crap. I'm just telling you right now, folks, if you are on the fence at all, you don't need to be with that party. You don't need to be with that party at all. You need to move on. You need to find either. But I mean, you don't have to jump in with the Republicans. You can just go independent, because I guarantee you, if you stick with the Democrat Party, you are complicit in everything that they are doing to try and destroy this country. To try and destroy this country. So if you are a Democrat, stop. If you are a Democrat who has any sense of logic, reason, common sense, understanding, ethics, morals, values, integrity, and you do not support what this party has become, then you need to divorce yourself from it. Show us, not by your words. Show us not by your words, but by your actions. I don't want your hollow words of apologies or anything else. What I want to see is your actions. I want to see this lunatic fringe leftist ideology abolished from the country. That's what I want to see. And if you're a Democrat who absolutely is abhorred by what your party has become, you need to divorce it. It's not worth saving. Make your own. Make your own political party. Start something different. Start something different. All right, let's see here. Okay. Go ahead with this. Going to cover up Buddy's picture here for a second, but it's all right. All right, anglers, if you're ready to fish remote lakes or quiet rivers in total stealth mode, check out the Nevada Fishing Float Tube from Caddis Sports. This U-shaped beast is built for serious fishing missions. Ultra stable, super maneuverable, and tough as nails, thanks to heavy-duty ripstop material and double-stitched seams. You get a padded backrest, oversized seat, 2 large gear pockets, a rod holder, stripping apron, and even a dry fly patch. Everything you need to stay locked in and ready when the bite is on. Fluorescent accents keep you visible out on the water, and carry handles make it easy to haul in and out. Whether you're chasing bass in the shallows or hiking into alpine trout lakes, the Nevada Float Tube is built for the job. Use promo code RUMBLE, RUMBLE, at checkout for 10% off your order today. Go to Caddis Sports, that's CADDIS Sports.com. Get out there, stay light, and catch the big one. Use Rumble code at checkout at Caddis Sports, that's CADDIS Sports.com. Use promo code RUMBLE at checkout. Get 10% off your order. Go to Caddis Sports, CADDIS Sports.com. Use promo code RUMBLE and get 10% off your order for the Nevada Fishing Float Tube from Caddis Sports. All right. You guys are making me smile over there in the Rumble chat. We need a smile today. All right. Well, we have now some more information about good old Biden and his malfeasance. Got two articles here for this. The first one, of course, is I don't know if anybody. I mean, there's a lot going on in the news today. You know, it's kind of funny. I was talking to a friend of mine, Steven Stiles. He's been here on the show before, but I talked to him, and he told me at one point, I was saying, you know, if Trump gets elected again, I'm afraid that I'm going to run out of stories. And he says, oh no. He said, you are going to have all kinds of stories. And, yeah, I sure do. I have all kinds of stories to deal with. He was definitely right. So I don't know if anybody has been aware of this. But there was apparently an operation called Arctic Frost. And it was a probe by the FBI to investigate a wide array of conservative groups. Now, Senator Chuck Grassley has revealed the broader scope of Arctic Frost. And he had a hearing with Kash Patel in the Senate Judiciary Committee today. And he was saying that the whistleblowers have come forward with even more new evidence. Grassley stated that the operation, originally set up to investigate the effort to overturn the 2020 election, had expanded to include a wide range of conservative groups, the Republican National Committee, as well as others. He added that there was at least one FBI agent that had been exuberant when learning of the prosecution of Trump advisor Peter Navarro for contempt of Congress. Apparently, Arctic Frost was also investigating Turning Point USA as a terror group, or maybe not a terror group, but definitely as part of the attack from the left on conservative groups. Now, for those of you that have memories longer than the pea-sized brains of our opponents in the left, this goes all the way back to Obama. Because Obama weaponized the IRS to go after conservative nonprofit organizations, 501c3s, as you recall. See, this, you know, the thing about it is with this entire kind of situation and everything that's going on is that there is so much that the Democrats have done, like I've been saying for you know, to everybody who's been sitting here talking about, oh, no, you know, this is something brand new. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. See, the conservatives and the right have been essentially capitulating to the left and their sycophantic lunacy for decades. Like I've said before, we would give them an inch and they would take a freaking mile or more. They would request thousands of miles. And every time we gave them something that realistically we never should have given up, but every single time that we gave them something to just say, hey, look, if we give you this, will you shut the hell up? And they would say, yes. Oh, yeah, this is a big, important issue. If you give us this, we'll be quiet. No. And that happened over and over and over again. Decades worth. And now we see the culmination of it right here. Well, it even goes further than that. You know that case. Oh, I remember the case. The whole case that everybody was making. I mean, that Dan Bongino wrote 2 books about it, 2 or 3, I think. And there were so many things about Biden and his bribery and where did his family's money come from and Hunter Biden and the laptop and all of that stuff. Well, some of the newly released files declassified from the FBI made public by Senator Grassley now reveals even more allegations of foreign bribery involving Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, and Ukraine's Burisma Holdings. See, you guys don't seem to understand. Where there's smoke, there's generally fire. This whole thing with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and the entire Biden family, and him being on videotape saying, "Oh well, I told them they needed to fire, or otherwise I wouldn't give them the $1 billion." And well, son of a bitch, they fired him. That whole thing. That's the smoke, folks. That's the smoke. Now, what's good about those kinds of situations is that the idiot who's making those statements isn't smart enough to cover up for himself. The problem is all the moronic idiots that are out there who aren't sitting there looking at that and going, hey, wait a minute, did he just say what I think he just said? So apparently these files contain interviews from 2017 and 2019 and claim that Burisma's owner, Mykola Zlochevsky, and I think I'm pronouncing that correctly for once, attempted to bribe then Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko with $100 million to stop the Interpol investigation into his company. The money apparently moved or allegedly moved through a Latvian shell company linked to none other than the Bidens. So according to the documents, Joe Biden met with Poroshenko to safeguard his son's interests and those of Zlochevsky, who reportedly paid Hunter Biden around $1 million per year for his position on Burisma's board from 2014 to 2019. Now, keep in mind, Burisma is an oil company. Hunter Biden has literally zero knowledge of the oil industry. I would actually say that Hunter Biden has literally zero knowledge of anything other than being the bag man. And snorting coke and getting with hookers. But anyway, the files further suggest that the CIA itself intervened to block investigations into Zlochevsky. The corruption is clearly in one side of the camp. The violence is clearly in one side of the camp. This is, as I posted a long time ago when this started to break, man, this is bigger. This is so much bigger than frickin' Watergate. Nixon is sitting there rolling over in his grave right now going, I resigned and you're allowing all that to go, just like the founders are rolling over in their graves going, my God, we gave up almost a well-designed system, and you guys have warped it into something that it's not. Well, I, for one, am going to tell you, I am sitting here and, saying I am not going to stop trying to right the ship. I am not going to stop trying to and attempting to right the ship at all. Well, Donald Trump is not going to stop trying to correct these lunatics, and I'm talking about anyone all the way up to the New York Times. He's going after the paper now. He has announced a $15 billion, yes, that's with a B, $15 billion lawsuit against the New York Times for defamation and libel. He's accusing the New York Times of being an illicit mouthpiece for Democrats. Well, he's certainly not wrong there. They absolutely are, as far as that goes. So he announced this morning. He's accusing the paper of being a virtual mouthpiece for the Democrat Party and making illegal campaign contribution in 2024 to the opponent, Kamala Harris. Trump announced the lawsuit late on Monday, actually, on True Social, and said that it would be brought in Florida. Oh, thank goodness. And when I first heard about this, I thought, oh, hell, how is he going to get a fair trial in both New York or D.C.? And so I'm glad to see that he's doing this in Florida. He says this marks yet another legal action taken by the president against major media organizations after forcing settlements. You remember this, forcing settlements with ABC News and CBS News over the past year. He wrote on True Social, "Today I have the great honor of bringing a $15 billion defamation and libel lawsuit against the New York Times, one of the worst and most degenerate newspapers in the history of our country, becoming a virtual mouthpiece for the radical left Democrat Party. I view it as the single largest illegal campaign contribution ever. Their endorsement of Kamala Harris was actually put dead center on the front page of the New York Times. Something heretofore unheard of." And I got to tell you right now, he also, by the way, accused the Times of engaging in decades-long campaigns of lying about him, his business, his family, the MAGA movement. Yeah. See, this is where a lot of these people don't seem to get it. And by these people, I'm talking about the people on the left. The left seems to think that free speech actually means things like, oh yeah, you can say whatever you want with no consequence. And I've put out there multiple times, and I've said this, look, you have the right to say whatever you want to say, but you do not have the right to be free from any of the consequences of what you say. See, if you were to say something that was extremely outwardly racist against an individual, and that wasn't even proven, that there was absolutely zero evidence, verifiable evidence of this happening, that's known as defamation, folks. And defamation is specifically illegal. Slander and libel are illegal as well. One in printed word and one in spoken word. So you want to step up to a microphone, you've got to make sure that you are very, very careful as to what you say. I put myself at risk up here every single night. By the way, that's another thing that Buddy recommended. He pushed me to go to 5 days a week. Anyway. And what a lot of people also don't understand is that free speech does not entail you or allow you to say what you want when you're on somebody else's dime. Which means that when you're working for somebody else, when you're being paid by somebody else, and you're working on their time, and you say something, that means that you open up the company to a potential lawsuit. See, this is part of the reason why a lot of these people, because, there was a lot of leftists who are saying, oh, no, all those service members, because the Secretary of War said, hey, we're going after any service member who disparagingly celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk. And so many of these leftists jump on board and they were like, they can't do that. What about that individual's freedom of speech? Well, let me explain something to you, because this I have experience in. Clear experience in. See, when you sign your name on the dotted line to go into the military, you are literally handing over yourself and everything else over to the federal government. I'm not making a joke when I say that when you sign on that dotted line, you are filling out a check to the federal government, payable up to and including your life. Because you, as a service member, can get into trouble under the United States Code of Military Justice. You'll hear it called the UCMJ. And the UCMJ states that you cannot, in any way, shape, or form, disparage or bring disparagement against the military services. Meaning that when you put on that uniform, and by the way, they've kind of slacked it off a little bit. I mean, if you're out of uniform, then you can kind of say something. But all of those people that are in uniform or have pictures on their social media of them being in uniform and they post something that is totally out of it, guess what? Your ass can get thrown into a article. I think it's an article isn't an Article 31 hearing, but anyway, you can get in some serious trouble. The UCMJ Article 133 and 134 apply here. In fact, a lot of people don't know that you can actually get tossed out of the military for adultery. Still, to this day and age, that's under Article 134. Because that steps to your moral ineptitude. See, these people, these leftist morons, seem to think that, free speech is I can say whatever I want anytime I want. And then the minute that they can't, they yell out, oh, well, what about, what aboutism? What about fire in a theater? Yeah, you can yell fire in a theater. You actually can. The Supreme Court has stated you can do that. However, you are not absolved of the consequences of yelling fire in a theater when there is no fire. Meaning that you absolutely can put yourself into legal hot water by doing so. See, this is why there is a difference between those of us on the right and those of us who aren't. See, those of us who are on the right, we understand there's limits. There's guardrails, per se, for your actions. And if you ignore those guardrails, yeah, you're going to get into trouble. And you need to recognize those guardrails. Well, one of those guardrails that a leftist lunatic AG, or is she, yeah, she's a district attorney, sorry, DA, district attorney missed, is down in Georgia. So we finally have a conclusion for the Trump elections interference case down in Georgia. The Supreme Court has finally heard the Fani Willis case. They stated today that they have rejected Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis's bid to prosecute President Trump over the 2020 election. You remember when he made that phone call to Brad Raffensperger and said, hey, all I need to do is find 11,000 some odd votes. And she decided to say, oh, that's election interference. Yeah. And then she proceeded to mount a lawfare against Donald Trump, utilizing her lover and colluding, and yes, I am going to call this out, colluding with the White House because her lover went to the White House and spoke with the White House attorneys and White House staff. Yeah. But anyway, the court upheld a lower court ruling disqualifying Fani Willis over a Georgia law that states there was a significant appearance of impropriety. Now, the impropriety that is here is the fact that as long as they kept that case running, they literally, between her and Wade, made money off of the case. It wouldn't have done anything had Nathan Wade not been on the case. If she hadn't hired him at an exorbitantly amount, paying him for a level of experience that he clearly did not have, and then, of course, gaining benefit from it by, taking lavish vacations and stuff with literally no record of ever paying the man back. Oh, I paid him in cash. Yeah, you didn't pay him jack crap, lady. See, all of these things are coming home to roost now. Every single one of these. And let me put it to you like this. If you're a sane, moderate Democrat who is pining away for the old Democrat Party, folks, you need to honestly get out of it. Get out of the Democrat Party. You can't save it. It's like the Titanic, baby. She's sinking. She's going down. And there's nothing you can do about it. The hole in the Democrat Party boat has been ripped so big. Yeah. There is absolutely no way that you are going to be able to save this thing. You can bail and bail and bail, and your little bucket, your little sand bucket, like the kids' buckets that you buy at the beach, it's not going to do anything. You guys are sinking quickly. You need to just get out. Well, we now have some indication as to why Anthony Fauci received a pardon. So this came out yesterday in the Washington Examiner. Apparently, well, let's just kind of catch everybody up. Of course, in one of his final acts as president, Joe Biden issued a pardon to Dr. Anthony Fauci. And the preemptive pardon was for, accordingly, a rumored enemies list that was going to have that Donald Trump had in his hand. Well, now we have a potential reason. Okay, Dr. Anthony Fauci accepted the pardon, but insisted that he committed 0 crimes. He committed 0 crimes. And, yeah, new congressional evidence now shows that there's a very good reason that Fauci received it. He actually broke the law. So, newly released emails show that Dr. Fauci directed colleagues to delete emails after you read the emails, dating all the way back to February of 2020. Now, he had denied this under oath. And for those of you that don't know, government is one of the greatest paper pushers, or I should say paper pushing organizations in the world. Because everything is required by law to be kept. Everything. See, this is part of the reason that things like the Presidential Records Act exists. Okay? Well, there are several emails that were pulled up that he was basically telling people, oh no, delete this. Delete this. Well, that is actually against the law. The Federal Records Act requires federal employees to preserve records, including emails that document official business. Why do you think Hillary Clinton kept a separate private email server? Why do you think Joe Biden used pseudonyms on private email addresses for all of this? Because they all know the Federal Records Act exists. They all know that deleting or instructing others to delete federal records is against the law. They all know this. And this is why Fauci, of course, said under oath that he denied, which, by the way, if he said it under oath like this, yeah, that's another one. That's called perjury. That he denied deleting any records, including emails, several times during the June 2024 hearing before the House Select Subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic. He was asked multiple times. Representative James Comer bluntly asked, Dr. Fauci, have you ever destroyed an official record? No, he said. He also answered no when asked if he'd ever deleted emails or attempted to obstruct the release of public documents. No. No, I did not. And we now know that testimony is false. Fauci, on one of his emails dated February 2nd, 2020, said, please delete this email after you read it. Sent to then NIH Director Francis Collins. Yeah. Yep. So 1 day before and a month before, now this particular date, February 2nd, 2020, is important. 1 day before and 1 month before the government started imposing sweeping pandemic lockdowns, Fauci and Collins were warned that COVID-19 may have leaked from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. This was during what became known as the Proximal Origins Call. All officials agreed that agencies should get ahead of the science and the narrative on this, so we are not reacting to reports that could be very damaging. So they knew that it was a lab leak. and they tried to cover it up. See, this is why Fauci was given his pardon. And I would imagine that there are other pardons out there that were given because of actions that were being taken by these corrupt sons of guns. All right, folks. Before I take off, I want to take a moment just to once again recognize the passing of our dear friend and major contributor to the show, Buddy Weiser. May he rest in peace. May God be with him. He is with Jesus now. He was, from all intents and purposes, a God-fearing man, and did believe in his Maker, in Jesus Christ. And I know that he is up there with God. God had welcomed him at the gate, handed him a case of Budweiser beer. I think he drank Bud Light, actually. I remember when the Bud Light thing was on, this is just another memory really quick. Sorry, bear with me, but I can remember when the Bud Light, boycott was on, he basically said, nobody tells me what I can and can't drink. Anyway, I'm sure God just handed him a six-pack and said, welcome home. If only the rest of us are so lucky. If you haven't already, head on over to Buddy Weiser. Head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are there, signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Don't forget, before you take off, to hit those thumbs up or thumbs down across all of my platforms, whether it's YouTube, X, Facebook, or the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night for Whiskey Wednesday, right here on American Perspective, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a great rest of your evening. May God bless America. May God bless the souls of Charlie Kirk and Buddy Weiser. And good night, everybody.